Melania, Trump is furious. The woman who wants to be First Lady is taking on several media outlets that she says printed false reports about her personal life. Now, Melania is threatening to sue. Les Trent.
Funny thing to say. He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist. He's in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, and I think also, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had to apologize for them, and I think he took that hit and, really doubled down the other direction.
Jimmy Kimmel. For the fourth time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore blackface so many times he's second only to Justin Trudeau in his fondness for the practice. Yes, some of the very same celebrities who wanted you to believe they were horrified after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known black celebrities, and it wasn't a big deal.
Jimmy Kimmel was been given the kind of attention he never requested by Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, who then turned it into a hilarious parody. Rogan didn't hold back after Melania Trump struck Kimmel with a $100 million lawsuit that caused more controversy than legal issues. While Kelly ruthlessly dismantled Kimmel's self-righteous attitude, he pointed out exactly where Kimmel went wrong. The man who earned a living by making fun of other people from the comfort of his studio is suddenly the target of ridicule, and this time, the jokes are directed at him. This could be the punchline for karma, if there were one.
You need to defend yourself all the time. As you may heard, I file a few lawsuits, and I'm in the court now because they accuse me of doing stuff that I never did in my life, and they wrote lies, and I will not allow that. I will fight till the end because I don't want that they damage my reputation and my name.
Late night comics would come on, and they occasionally would make us laugh, Pierce. I mean, occasionally they understood that they were in the game of making everyone laugh. As you know, they've abandoned that game now, and they're just political operatives out there. Colbert, Kimmel, Seth Meyers, who I struggle to even mention that guy's name. He's such an absolute prick.
Without warming up, Rogan was all on it as soon as it was announced that Melania Trump had filed a $100 million lawsuit against Jimmy Kimmel. Without hesitation, no filter, just that characteristic Rogan confidence and incisive comments. He thought it was not only ironic, but also perfectly timed that Kimmel, the late-night comedy industry's king of moral lectures, had taken things so far that the former First Lady filed a huge lawsuit, as if someone were slipping on their own banana peel. For many years, Kimmel's show was a combination of personal preaching and politics. At last, someone is resisting.
Obviously, Kimmel's love of blackface was not a deal breaker for ABC, which already employs him as a late-night host, and which, in addition to its many blackface awards shows, also produced and promoted many shows and stars in blackface. It appears the real sin with blackface, you see, is talking about how standards on it.
Joe began by highlighting Jimmy Kimmel's significant transformation over time. He was once an easygoing, humorous man who didn't take himself too seriously and only spoke jokes. Now, though, as if he were a late-night preacher, he reads moral lessons from a teleprompter and has become a full-time reprimander. Jimmy seems to have undergone a spiritual makeover. According to Rogan, one intended to win over Hollywood rather than amuse actual fans. The final outcome? A man who has lost his sense of humor but acts like a moral authority.
There's not a chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. So a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs. And then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to club. They're like, okay, explain to the people. Okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause.
However, Kimmel's pretense that making fun of people is admirable was the thing that truly irritated Rogan. Joe pointed out the contradiction of a man who talks about empathy and kindness all the time, but finds it flirtatious to make fun of Melania Trump's accent. Remember that Melania never held political authority or sought for office. Night after night, Kimmel continues to make sloppy jokes about her. His side is now shouting about free speech, as if they've just learnt what it means now that she's retaliating in court.
Yes, some of the very same celebrities who wanted you to believe they were horrified after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known black celebrities and it wasn't a big deal. Absolutely ate up the performance by Hollywood darling Mr. Kimmel, whose blackface costumes included his oft-repeated bit as basketball star Karl Malone.
Now, Karl Malone never seen no flying saucer himself, but if he do, that's gonna be a
And let's not forget.
And 55. Then Megyn Kelly, calm, confident, and incredibly focused, took over the conversation. She went in like a competent lawyer, rendering a verdict rather than easing in. Jimmy Kimmel was now on trial rather than just being investigated. Additionally, Megyn's final point was so persuasive that no one could leave unconvinced. She began by pointing out his duplicity. Once lighthearted and easygoing, this man is now hiding behind a facade of justice and lofty rhetoric, buzzwords he knows look good on camera. Kelly countered that if you take away all of that, it's just a show. Applause is more important to Kimmel than honesty, and to obtain it, he will sacrifice anyone. Kelly took her argument a step further by focusing on Kimmel's career of disparaging Melania Trump rather than on herself. To get chuckles, she presented her as a helpless, alien accessory. Then Melania changed the course of events by bringing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that might have made Kimmel go from late-night royalty to a struggling used car salesman in a single headline. Kelly didn't hold back while making fun of his phony confidence. Kimmel presents himself as the fearless teller of the truth who dared to challenge authority. But the authority he chose to oppose? A mother and former First Lady. She was criticized for her accent and style choices rather than her policies. It must be a radical act to type in all caps. If that's courage, Kelly joked.
Kimmel's a loser. I do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
And he'd be standing on the sidewalk. Oh, sir, may I bring you in? He'd bring me in every time. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He called us doofuses when we had you on.
It's a group of and flat-brimmed hats.
Guess what? We
Ask him how many.
That's what he did.
Ask him. Yeah, you do bigger. Yeah.
Megyn Kelly, however, continued after the lawsuit. She zoomed out to see Kimmel's whole career and how much he had changed from his former self. The man who used to make lighthearted jokes and not take himself seriously is now behaving like a politically concerned preacher. While promoting the newest streaming service, he transitioned from making silly jokes to giving America's social concerns lectures. Kelly referred to that as convenient rebranding rather than growth. She also brought up the irony. Kimmel continues to attempt to reenact his 2017 routines as though nothing has changed, even though Donald Trump is back in the White House. However, things are now different. The jokes seem cliched. It feels like a forced outrage. And now, Kimmel is the target of criticism rather than the one making it, with legal documents rather than jokes. Kelly put it plainly, speech suppression isn't the goal here. Holding someone accountable is the goal. As long as the crowd applauded and Twitter cheered, Kimmel pretended that he could say anything, make fun of anyone, and never be held accountable. However, the same system he believed he had mastered is now against him, and he faces a massive lawsuit. Even the PR spin was criticized by her. in an attempt to portray him as the victim. Kimmel's crew is releasing information about how emotionally taxing this whole situation is on him. They are promoting the idea that all comedians should take note of this. Megyn, however, saw through it. She referred to it as panic. Finally, a man who believed he would never face criticism is being held to the same standards he enjoys hurling at other people.
How much it costs to produce Jimmy Kimmel's show? I guarantee you it's tens and tens of millions. It could be as much as 100. I have no idea. You know how much Tucker's video cost? Nothing. You know how much Jimmy Kimmel, how many people he gets tuning in on an average night? Just last week, his average was, in the overall, meaning all viewers, 1.5 million. In the key demo, 236,000. Tucker would have been embarrassed to pull that on any night he was on the Fox.
Megyn also had no intention of causing people to lose sight of the wider picture. She emphasized that all of this is taking place as Donald Trump returns to the White House, which is the exact result Jimmy Kimmel vowed would never occur. His entire public persona revolved around criticizing Trump. He pretended that resistance was his full-time occupation. Now, though, Melania has a legal team on standby. Trump is back in control, and Kimmel's old habit of smug sarcasm seems stale and outdated. Then it was brought home by Joe Rogan. He believed that Kimmel's predicament was a component of a larger breakdown, rather than merely a personal mess. There was more than one man being sued in this case. It was an indication that an entire area of humor had become stale. Late night used to be bold and unpredictable. Rogan added, "These days, it's more like group therapy with a dash of humor." And he sees Kimmel as the epitome of that downturn. Joe didn't mince words. He criticized the contrived outrage, the emotional monologues masquerading as advocacy, and the never-ending urge to win over the same audience. He claimed that Kimmel had become less of a comedian and more of a hall monitor who collaborated with a group of writers, sacrificing genuine laughter in order to get online acceptance. And now the moral high ground upon which he based his brand, the weight of a lawsuit is causing it to collapse. Megyn concluded by drawing attention to the obvious double standard. She criticized Hollywood for ostentatiously supporting women, yet remaining utterly mute for years as Kimmel made fun of Melania Trump. And all of a sudden, nobody in his network has anything to say now that there is financial and legal risk involved. Not a single defense or tweet. Why? Megyn put it simply. Melania doesn't get the same rules because she was never a member of their club.
We're 3 times what Jimmy Kimmel gets. And Tucker's little basement video that he did from clearly like his cabin that he broadcast out of Maine in literally has 21 million views. Okay? 21 million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free, that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults because
Megyn made it apparent that the humor will continue. It was accountability returned. Jimmy Kimmel was at last experiencing what it's like to be hit back after years of hurling cheesy jabs from behind a desk. Together, Rogan and Kelly discussed more than just a lawsuit. They revealed Kimmel's true fear, being recognized for who he truly is. Someone who values praise over honesty, not a bold comedian speaking truth to power. The man who made a living by criticizing others was now the target of criticism. The background laughter may still be audible, but the act, it's disintegrating. Joe referred to it as karmic judo. When you make fun of someone for a long enough period of time, it finally backfires. What about Megyn? Justice, she said, supported by facts, solicitors, and a lawsuit with a price tag that could shake anyone, but not out of retaliation. The individual who used to share jokes now appeared to be evading subpoenas. And the most outrageous aspect, he still didn't appear to understand. This had to do with more than one poor joke. Years of self-satisfied taunts finally added up. And now there's a court bill attached. Rogan even depicted Kimmel pacing his Hollywood office with oat milk in hand as a group of attorneys composedly clarified that, no, labeling it satire won't end the lawsuit.